So today we're talking everything and anything that has to do with love triangles. Oh my gosh, I'm so
That's
cringe.
embarrassing.
There's no romance, what's the point? Just kidding, maybe. Yo, it's Anne, aka Antagonist. Happy Romance Trope Thursday! It's a series on my channel where I do a deep dive into a different romance trope in each video. This is part 2 of the series. Last week I kicked us off with a deep dive into the enemies to lovers trope. So if you want to check that out, it'll be in the cards right up here. But today we're talking about romance and the Illuminati's favorite shape. So let's get into it.
I'm another man's wife and he loves me. And I love him.
If he loved you with all the power of his soul for a whole lifetime, he couldn't love you as much as I do in a single day.
Love triangles are probably the oldest romance trope there is. In fact, one could say the trope is historic because it's literally changed the course of history several times. Many people point to the affairs between Julius Caesar, Mark Antony, and Cleopatra as a historic love triangle. But that's actually not true. Julius Caesar was long gone before Mark Antony came into power and caught Cleopatra's attention. The actual love triangle that changed the course of history and essentially took down the Roman Empire was between Cleopatra, Mark Antony, and his wives. You see, Mark Antony was messing around with Cleopatra in Egypt while he was married to Fulvia back in Rome. And Octavian, a Roman general, was not having this. So when Mark Antony returned to Rome to do some damage control, he decided to marry Octavia, Octavian's sister, to essentially keep the Roman Empire afloat. Literally while Cleopatra was giving birth to his twins back in Egypt. But eventually, Mark Antony just couldn't stay away from Miss Cleo, so he abandoned his wife, Octavia, and their children and went back to Cleopatra. And Octavian was like, oh, hell nah. So he went over, took the Roman Empire right out of Miss Cleo and Mark Antony's clutches. Super messy, kind of ghetto. Another famous historical love triangle involved King Henry VIII, who wanted to get rid of his first wife, Catherine of Aragon, to be able to marry his side chick, Anne Boleyn. So he invented an entire new religion that divided the country just to do that. But then he started another love triangle with him, Anne, and Jane Seymour, who he would later marry, but he used other methods to get rid of his wife that time. If we move further along in history to the 1800s, love triangles looked a lot more like the ones we're used to seeing. And I'd argue that it was much more reasonable to be in a love triangle back in the day because you weren't actually allowed to date who you wanted to marry. People had suitors and suitresses come after them, multiple, if you played your cards right, and you would have to choose. But at the time, most of these love triangles were about a choice of lifestyle because marriages were completely and totally transactional. Take Wuthering Heights, the famous novel by Emily Bronte. It should be Bronte. I will die on that hill. In Wuthering Heights, Catherine is choosing between her passion for Heathcliff and the safety of a life with Edgar. Now the modern love triangle puts more of an emphasis on the love part, where a main character is involved or may have feelings for multiple people, and drama ensues.
You are courting her sister.
And I have every intention of bringing it to a point.
Why?
Why? Because I am courting her. Because I've decided.
Before I go into the different types of love triangles, I just want to remind us of the definition of a love triangle, which is a romantic situation, usually competitive in nature, that involves 3 or more people. So that means that there could be a lot of different iterations, but I've tried to separate them into 3 categories that manifest itself most often in media. So first, we have the connected love triangle. It's in the name. The triangle is connected because each point of the triangle or person has feelings for the other. So think she's the man. Viola has feelings for Duke, and Duke has feelings for Olivia, and Olivia has feelings for Sebastian, who is actually Viola. So everyone is into everyone. Everything connects. Or you could think of Euphoria, where Dominic has feelings for Rue, Rue has feelings for Jules, and Jules has feelings for Dominic and Rue. And then Dominic has feelings for Rue and Jules.
So I am Confucian.
Like, no one understood that, but either way, it was connected and it was giving drama. Then we have the 2-on-1, which is probably the most common type of love triangle that we see in everywhere. 2 people are interested in the same person, and this one person has to choose between the 2 love interests because, at least in this case, polyamory isn't the vibe. And then lastly, we have the complex love triangle, which, not gonna lie, this category is just a catch-all for any other type that doesn't involve these 2. So here I have Les Miserables, where it's Marius, Cosette, and Eponine. So Eponine is in love with Marius, and Marius is in love with Cosette. And Cosette likes Marius back too. Note that none of these categories actually make a triangular shape except for the connected love triangle, but no one cares about actual geometry when it comes to romance. Duh.
Bella, the only thing that can hurt me is you, and I don't have anything else to be afraid of.
First, you need at least 3 participants. Whether it's one participant that'll instigate another participant to start working harder to get the affection of a character, but ideally, you would have the options being equally compelling. Then, the second ingredient is indecisiveness. Because if they were able to just choose one person, that would just end everything and you wouldn't have a love triangle.
Do you want?
And the last ingredient is a choice. At least for the case of romance books, there is a promise of a happy ending. So you do need to have a choice, and you do need a couple to get together. And by the end, you have a winner. Or a couple.
And you must be the woman who's been screwing my husband.
Love triangles get a lot of criticism. It's probably one of, if not the most outwardly hated romance trope in fandom. If the love triangle was taken to trope court, it would have all the accusations, all the allegations, all the charges.
Electric chair.
But we're just gonna go over 3 big ones. So when it comes to love triangles, beware of these certain issues that people have with it. First accusation is that the trope is overdone. Many people accuse love triangles of being overdone, lazy, and more of a plot device to keep things interesting rather than being meaningful to the story. Especially in shows, love triangles can seem like an afterthought thrown into the mix to add what could be deemed unnecessary drama instead of exploring real, complex issues between characters. Oftentimes too, the other character in the love triangle can seem more of a plot device rather than a real character or person. Second thing, many accuse the trope of being predictable. Yawn, boring, as in you can tell who's going to win from the start, so the love triangle seems useless. There are often a few clues that you can catch on to know who's going to win. Usually if the person was there first or was the first love interest, they're going to win. Or if there's a bad boy character who's often juxtaposed to a more nice guy, perfect on paper character, the bad guy character will win. And what some people consider the appeal of a love triangle would be not knowing who is going to win. But oftentimes the way that it's manifested in the media is you know exactly who's going to win from the jump. And you have no interest in playing the love triangle game anymore. It's almost like watching a sports match and knowing that the team is up by 100 points and there's 2 minutes left to the game. Like, what's the point? Actually, aside from the 2 other clues that I gave, there's a better indicator of who's going to win in a love triangle, and that's if you have a person of color versus a white character, the white love interest is always winning at all times. It's so stupid because it feels like the person of color is thrown into the mix to spice things up, only for the white couple to inevitably get back together. Let me know if you'd like a video deep diving that, because there's a lot of bones to pick with that and a lot of nuance that is not being explored. And last but not least, we have the infidelity part. Most of these love triangle situations aren't clean cut. Characters usually engage in some form of deception, emotional cheating, or sometimes completely physical cheating, which can make it difficult to root for a main character or the winning couple. And for many people, the appeal of romance is the idea that there is one perfect person out there for you. So picking and fighting over multiple love interests can seem unromantic and make people want to forego the love story altogether.
I thought having a boyfriend meant the mere idea of other boys left your mind completely.
There was a time in the early to mid 2000s where you couldn't open a book or turn on your TV without seeing a love triangle. I call this oversaturation of love triangles in the mid 2000s the Twilight effect. Producers and publishers couldn't not cash in on the power of fandom and the kind of engagement that you got with a Team Jacob versus Team Edward style battle. So I understand why many fans feel a certain fatigue when it comes to the love triangle trope. But I think we've become a little too triggered when it comes to love triangles, as if there's no room for them whatsoever. That if a triangle even tries to make an appearance in a romance arc, you'll have your pitchforks and torches ready.
Death to all of them.
But I'm here to say, I think some of y'all are capping a little. Just a little bit, just a little. I'm not convinced that we all hate love triangles as much as we claim to. I think we all consume more love triangles than we think, but we subconsciously don't register them as love triangles because love triangles only exist when you're mad. As I've said, the definition of a love triangle is a romance narrative involving 3 or more people. So yes, all these famous, critically acclaimed, and beloved movies count. Like personally, I'm a fan of the movie Leap Year, and it has a love triangle at the center of its romance. Amy Adams' character is engaged or about to be to her boyfriend, and then she runs into some cute Irish dude. Or is he Scottish? I'm so sorry. She runs into a brooding Irish guy who owns a pub or something and has to make a choice between her boyfriend and him. A love triangle. And maybe you're saying right now, no, that's not a love triangle because we're all rooting for the same person, or we didn't spend enough time with the other romantic lead, or we all know who's going to win. But couldn't the same be said about many love triangles that we've witnessed and acknowledged in media? Even in Twilight, Bella never really considers Jacob as a serious option. If anything, she might ponder on it for 2 seconds in New Moon when Edward is gone and has dumped her, but as soon as he comes back, they're engaged and married and there's no questions asked. I watched the film franchise for the first time around 3 to 4 years ago and was genuinely surprised to see how insignificant the love triangle was to the actual story. After hearing years of complaints about it, I'd argue Bella was more firm in her decision to be with Edward than, let's say, a character like Lara Jean. The To All the Boys I've Loved Before franchise is generally beloved and critically acclaimed, and 2 out of the 3 movies involve a love triangle. But notice how in the first film, the love triangle is rarely mentioned by fans. But in the second film, people are quick to point it out and critique it. But maybe it's because you're just upset about the outcome this time. But you were okay with the love triangle when she chose Peter over Josh because you didn't care about him and you weren't rooting for him. But I doubt any of you would suggest that removing the love triangle from either movies would have made things better, because part of the appeal of To All the Boys is the multiple love letters aspect. Julia Cudney did a really good video on this, so if you want an even more eloquent explanation, I would recommend you check out her video. As Julia put in her video, love triangles are a staple of the romance genre. If you hate love triangles that much, you're probably not going to be a big fan of most romance shows, movies, and TV. Every time there's a second lead, you've found yourself in a love triangle of sorts. Love triangles have been and are still happening. They're just being repackaged constantly. And I think y'all might only point out love triangles when you're upset. Previously, I mentioned that love triangles can seem unmeaningful to a story or unromantic. But one of my favorite examples of a love triangle is in the film Set It Up. I think the love triangle actually elevates the romance arc in the film. At the start of the movie, Charlie's in a relationship with his model girlfriend, Suze. Then he meets Harper, a quirky, sports-loving fellow assistant at work, and starts catching feelings for her. But why this love triangle enhances the story is because it directly parallels Charlie's internal struggle, chasing materialism, status, and superficial achievements over fostering meaningful connections, experiences, and not running away from the goofy, creative, and caring person he can be. Suze personifies the status and lifestyle that Charlie's striving to achieve while fighting the more down-to-earth qualities he possesses and that he sees in Harper. When Charlie finally breaks up with Suze, it's the ultimate triumph because he's not only leaving Suze to be with Harper, but he's deciding to adopt a new way of life. Not only does it show his growth as a character, but it demonstrates the active change that Charlie is making to be with Harper, which I find very romantic.
Of all the choices that I have made, this will prove to be the worst one, but I am not sorry that I'm in love with you.
Love triangles have been around since forever, and there's a reason for that. My God! Wow! A good love triangle is able to add compelling conflict to a story and help us, the audience, and characters learn valuable lessons. The love interests are often the personification of the conflicting wants of the main character. And many of us may not be able to relate to multiple people vying for our affection. So it can feel hard to sympathize with someone saying, "Woe is me, too many people like me." But everyone has been in a situation where you've had to make a real choice about who you want to be. The difficulty of making a seemingly impossible and permanent choice is something that people can relate to. And making that choice, despite all the obstacles, can make it even more meaningful. I also think we don't give love triangles enough credit for creating certain situations that allow for other favorite tropes like jealousy, angst, competition, confession. Like, come on, those are good. Do not lie. A lot of love triangles propel a character into confessing their feelings. Like, that is good. That is drama. Also, being part of a team and in fandom can be fun. Especially with TV shows, being part of a ship fandom can feel like a team sport. It gives you something to root for, and you stay invested because you want your team to win. And yes, just like in sports, there are some of those toxic fans that can make things difficult. But when you band together as a group for a couple you've been invested in from the beginning, not knowing what the outcome would be, and they finally get together, it feels like the ultimate victory. On to the recommendations.
I do know that Katniss will pick whoever she can't survive without.
For my love triangle recommendations, I'm talking about love triangles that were well done and really enhanced the story. As I've said, love triangles happen all the time, and I may like a ship that was involved in a love triangle, but I might not have loved the actual love triangle that was happening, or I didn't think that it was significant enough to the story to add here. So we're talking good love triangles that are spicy, juicy, and that keep you on your toes. Also, I'll tell you what team I'm on if that applies. Okay, we're gonna start with shows. So I would recommend Dawson's Creek. Full disclaimer, I have not even watched this show in its entirety, but the way that I'm obsessed with Joey and Pacey as a ship, like, I'd be watching their couple compilations. I don't care. Next, I say Never Have I Ever. I personally think the love triangle Never Have I Ever is well done because I found myself changing teams throughout, which doesn't happen often for me. So in the first season, I was Team Ben. And then second season, I was closer leaning to Team Paxton. I wouldn't say I was fully on the team, but I was getting close. I could see the vision. But then season 3, I ended up being Team Neither. But either way, the fact that I went back and forth, already very, very, very interesting. Legend of Korra is good for a love triangle because I did not see any of the outcomes coming. Yeah, that was so good. And it's definitely less heteronormative as a love triangle compared to many love triangles in media. So I would definitely recommend. Next, I'll say Ginny and Georgia. Obviously not Hunter and Marcus and Ginny as the love triangle. Let's be serious. I'm talking the love hexagon or whatever that's happening between Georgia, Zion, Peter. Is that his name? Paul. Ooh. Happening between Zion, Paul, and Joe. Never in my life have I ever wanted a woman to be able to have 3 husbands at the same time. Like, I want her to be with every single one of them. Every single one. That is a good love triangle because I'm literally conflicted all the time. And last, I'd say How I Met Your Mother, the love triangle between Ted, Robin, and Barney. I didn't like the outcome. I actually wish she had stayed single. I think that would have been a cool ending to the love triangle, or stayed with Barney. But it was still compelling. For movies, I'd recommend She's the Man. Definitely the most hilarious iteration of a love triangle I've seen. Leap Year, It Happened One Night, Les Miserables, Set It Up, What If, and Emma. For books, I'd recommend the Hunger Games trilogy by Suzanne Collins, the Legend series by Mary Lou, specifically the second book, Prodigy, Anna and the French Kiss by Stephanie Perkins, and How to Be Popular by Meg Cabot. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please consider liking it and commenting down below how you feel about love triangles. Do you think you still hate them as much as I claim you don't hate them? Obviously, you could actually hate them. That's definitely possible. But let me know. Or if you like them, tell me what your favorite love triangles are. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. I would really, really appreciate it. It means a lot to me. I'm trying to get to more than 2 subscribers. I really want to get to, I don't even want to put this out there. I really want to get to at least triple digits in subscribers by the end of the year. Dare I say 1K? That would be crazy.
Wishful thinking. Yeah. You're a dreamer. You dream a lot.
And also, if you subscribe, you become hotter. That's just a fact. Scientifically, you become hotter when you subscribe to this channel. So you should just do it. Do it for yourself, honestly. Just do it for you. It's not even about me. Yeah, anyways, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye.